What if I told you there's a 2,500-year-old mindset that could solve your biggest struggles today? The Spartans faced wars, famines, and impossible odds, yet thrived. Their secret? A mental framework so powerful it turns adversity into advantage. Life rules that transformed boys into warriors and can transform your procrastination into productivity, your fear into courage, and your distractions into focus. Today we avoid failure at all costs. We cushion every fall before it happens. Careers stay safe. Risks get calculated. Failure means embarrassment. For Spartans, failure meant something worse, dishonor. They didn't avoid failure, they used it as fuel. A Spartan who returned alive after losing a battle faced disgrace. Surviving defeat was worse than death. Their own mothers would tell them to come back with their shield or on it. Either victorious or carried home dead on that shield. No middle ground. No excuses. Modern society tells us failure is natural, even good. Spartans saw it as unacceptable. Not because they feared looking weak, but because they valued strength. Neuroscience now shows why this worked. When you accept potential failure, your brain adapts. Risk-taking becomes easier. The dread of shame triggers deeper motivation than the hope of reward. Modern entrepreneurs understand this. Most succeed only after multiple failures. They don't celebrate those failures. They use them. Like Spartans, they channel the discomfort into action. Here's the twist. Glory wasn't the main motivator. Shame was. The fear of letting down their brothers, their city, their name. That pushed Spartans harder than any promise of fame. When outnumbered, they fought fiercest. Why? Because retreat meant survival with shame. Death meant honor. This wasn't blind bravery. It was a calculated choice between two outcomes, only one acceptable. The lesson isn't about seeking death. It's about valuing your principles above comfort. When you fear dishonor more than hardship, limits disappear. Obstacles become tests. Failures become lessons. Not because you want to fail, but because failing isn't an option. This mindset created warriors who stood against armies 10 times their size, not because they were reckless, because they'd trained their minds first. Every Spartan knew. Mental weakness lost battles before swords ever clashed. Modern psychology calls this anticipatory regret. The pain of imagined failure drives action better than vague goals. Spartans mastered it instinctively. Their version was simpler. Disgrace lasts longer than death. Think how this applies now. Deadlines missed. Promises broken. Goals abandoned. Each carries a small dishonor, not to others, but to yourself. Spartans would ask, why tolerate that shame when you could act? This mindset built one of history's most disciplined forces, not through brute strength, but through an unshakable code. Honor mattered more than life, because without it, life meant nothing. The next section shows how they trained this mentality daily, not in grand moments, but in small, consistent actions, because no one becomes unbreakable by accident. Your morning routine would make a Spartan scoff. We chase comfort without realizing it weakens us. Soft beds, endless snacks, constant entertainment. Spartans did the opposite. They sought discomfort because they knew it bred strength. Modern science now confirms what they practiced. Comfort erodes resilience. Spartans ate plain food intentionally before battles, not because they lacked resources, because they trained their minds through denial. Only consume plain food and never eat to the point of satisfaction. This wasn't about deprivation. It was about discipline. They tied physical hunger to mental control. Modern diets focus on pleasure. Spartans focused on power, the power to resist. Research on cold exposure shows why this works. Brief, controlled stress builds tolerance. The body adapts. The mind learns discomfort won't break you. Spartans knew this instinctively. They trained barefoot in harsh terrain, slept outdoors in winter. These weren't punishments. They were exercises in mastery. Each small hardship prepared them for bigger ones. Navy SEALs follow a similar principle with the 40% rule. When you feel exhausted, you've only used 40% of your capacity. Spartans embodied this long before it had a name. They pushed until hands bled, not to prove toughness, but to expand limits. Pain wasn't their enemy. Complacency was. Here's the twist. Too much comfort weakens, but total hardship breaks. Spartans balanced rigor with recovery. They didn't seek suffering for its own sake. They used manageable doses of discomfort as training tools, like lifting weights for the mind. The goal wasn't pain, it was preparedness. Modern applications are simple but effective. Cold showers, fasted workouts, digital detoxes, small daily challenges that mimic Spartan training. These aren't about proving anything. They're about building something, mental calluses. Each one reinforces a truth. You can handle more than you think. Spartans didn't avoid warmth or rest when needed. They avoided softening when strong. Their disciplines weren't random acts of toughness. They formed a system, a way to stay sharp without breaking. Too little stress makes us fragile. Too much shatters us. Spartans walk the middle path, strong but supple. So what made the Spartans truly unbreakable? It wasn't just muscle or weapons. It wasn't luck or numbers. It was mindset. A code, a refusal to surrender, not just on the battlefield, but in life. They didn't wait for failure to teach them. They trained to deny it space to grow. In a time where honor was everything, they built lives around protecting it. Today, you don't need to march into war, but you do face battles, every morning, every decision, every time comfort tempts you to quit. The question is, what code do you live by? Because comfort is always calling, but so is greatness. If you've made it this far, you're not here by accident. Hit that subscribe button, because over the next few months, I'm taking you on a journey. A battle against modern weakness. A path to mastering discipline, mindset, and purpose. All through ancient wisdom that stood the test of time. Spartan principles, timeless strategies, real results. Let's rebuild strength, one video at a time.